everyone. Welcome back to another live stream. As you guys know, every Wednesday, live streaming for you. So, welcome back. Thank you guys all for tuning in. I hope everything sounds good. I think my levels are all right here. Like I always say with these live streams, I like them to keep these things as interactive as possible. So please feel free to leave me comments. Feel free to tell me what's up. Tell me how your guys' day is going. Any of that kind of good stuff. And I'll try to respond to as many of you as possible. However, there's always a lot of questions, and sometimes I miss out. Thomas Smith says, gotta love a Strat. Yes, I do love a Strat. This is a Telly, but I do love a Strat as well. So anyways, so today what I'll do is I'll just kind of jam out with you guys, play some stuff. I got my loop station set up, which means I can record something and play it back. And as well, I'm gonna, just rock out, chat with you guys. Anyway, how's everybody doing this Wednesday? Michael Pilgard says, my day is doing great. Sean Kinch says, hey, Samurai guitarist, you're one of my favorite YouTube guitarists and keep inspiring me to get better and better. That's awesome, man. That means a lot, and that's one of the reasons why I do what I do, and it's great to hear that kind of stuff. Peter says, which loop station is it? It's the RC20. I think, yeah. Yeah, I'm pretty certain it's the RC20. It's an older version of the Boss one, and it's I like it. I mean, it was great when I bought it. I've just had it for a while. Haven't really looked to upgrade it or anything. Have I ever built one of those do-it-yourself guitar sets? No, I haven't. When it comes to that kind of stuff, I'm not overly handy. Anything on that side, I get my dad to help me out with, and he's quite handy. So he's built some of my guitar amps. Someone says, are you aware that you just lost the game? What game did I lose? I didn't know I was playing a game. Interesting. Someone says, Random Bloke says, hello from Russia. Hello from Winnipeg. So I'm going to ask you guys to do something today. I get a lot of questions on these live streams, and people say, what do you think about such and such band? What do you think about such and such guitarist? So before you ask that question, I want you to tell me what you think about such and such band, such and such guitarist. And then say, okay, I like this person, whatever, for whatever reason. And then I'm happy to respond there. It just makes it a little bit more interactive than if you guys just say, hey, what do you think of Jimi Hendrix? It's like, well, I mean, what do I do with that? Yeah, he was great. But if you're like, hey, I really love the way, I like this about Jimi Hendrix. What do you think about that aspect of his playing? A little bit more interesting conversation there. So just a little request from me. But you can also just, you can say whatever you want in the comments as well. A little out of tune there. Andrew Brayhout says, what pick up position am I on? I'm in the middle position. And I want to remind you guys that this guitar, this beautiful red American Telecaster, is in fact something that I'm going to be giving away. So make sure you check out my video on how you could win this guitar. John Dixon, that's what I'm talking about, man. He says, I like the unpredictability of Meshuggah riffs. I know you're not a metal guy. Thoughts on this? I've listened to like 2 Meshuggah songs in my life. I don't really remember them. From what I remember, I think they were very cool. The unpredictability and the surprise factor is a great aspect of music. And I think that's, when I talk to students and people about theory stuff, I say, you know what, there's 2 things. There's the most predictable and obvious thing, and then there's way out in left field, right? And this one usually doesn't sound good. This one sounds a little too obvious. If you can find that thing that's in the middle, you can make some incredible things. And so if Meshuggah does that for you, that's awesome. Evan Harris says, do you like Guthrie Govan's style of throwing in as many notes as possible to fill up empty space while still sounding musical? I don't think I could comment on Guthrie Govan. I haven't listened to enough of his stuff. I think stylistically that's fairly different than what I would gravitate towards, but the things of Guthrie Govan's I have heard, he's obviously an incredible musician. I don't know if I could comment more than that. Aidan Devlin says, how do you feel about John Lennon's playing, which is very far from perfect from a technical standpoint? I guess what John Lennon did is what it fit his songs, and I don't really think of John Lennon so much as a guitar player, so much as a songwriter who would occasionally use guitar as his vehicle to express his songs. And I think that's a distinction, and it seems like a fine line, but there's a very different thing between them. I think of a guy like I don't know, Stevie Ray Vaughan was very much a guitar player, whereas John Lennon was very much more of a songwriter. And so I think what John Lennon did with his instrument, I think it suited the songs as far as what I can tell. Cameron says, I love the way Jimi Hendrix used fire to spice up his shows. What do you think of that? I mean, it was pretty cool. He lit his guitars on fire. It's pretty sweet. Oh, man. There's a lot of comments here. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get to all of these. I'm going to try to respond to as many as possible. If I listen to George Benson, asks Santu Lightson, I find his way of mixing jazz and blues amazing. He has one of those playing styles that you could recognize immediately. I certainly have listened to George Benson, and he's one of those masters of jazz, and his lines are pretty incredible. He's one of those guitar players that's just like kind of on a different level than a lot of us. How old am I? You look young. By the way, your videos are awesome. Keep it up, says Last Dudas. I'm 29 years old. 29 years young. The Real Robert says, can you show us interesting or unique blues licks? Well, the term interesting and unique is fairly subjective, right? To somebody, this might be a very interesting lick. To someone else, that might be boring. A unique blues lick might be something like... Nah, it's not really that unique. Let me try another one. That's kind of unique, I guess. Throw in some bebop scale elements in there. I should make a sensei series on bebop scales. I love bebop scales. Bebop scales are one of the coolest things and are a great way to spice up a solo. In fact, maybe I did mention that in one of my videos. I can't remember. But that's something I wouldn't mind talking about again. Andrew Bellini Rutledge super chats and says, love your channel. Thanks for all your videos. Well, thank you so much for super chatting. If you guys don't know what super chatting is, you can leave a little tip in the tip jar and it pushes your comment up. So it's one of the ones that I will definitely see. And those kind of things are little things that help make what I do possible. And so I want to give a big thank you to the support of you guys is why this channel and people like me can exist in the world. And I think that's such a cool thing, is the fact that there's nothing separating what I do from the interaction and support of you guys. And what I mean by that is, back in the day, there was the record label was in the middle, the distributor, the radio. That doesn't exist anymore. I have direct access to a fan base, and to me that's so cool. And you guys have direct access to me, and I don't know. It's one of the great things about this era that we live in. Samurai, please help. You're my only hope. I want to learn music theory so I can make better songs and solos. I'm talking modes and stuff. Where to start and where should I search? Says Chet's R. First thing I would do, best way to start, in my opinion, is watch my video on the 4 pillars of musical theory. From there, I've got a lot of videos on theory. If you're getting stumped with that, great thing to do is reach out to a teacher. I do, in fact, do Skype lessons. You can hit me up at info@samuraiguitarist.com. Send me an email if you're interested. But besides that, there's lots of great stuff on YouTube. Lots of internet things available at you. But the best thing I think you can do is actually discuss it with somebody, because then you can kind of tailor your needs and the things that are confusing you, and that person can directly interact with you. Somebody whose name I cannot pronounce because I believe that's Arabic writing says, how will music evolve in the future in your opinion? It's really tough to say. I think music, it'll evolve in a way that there won't be one specific type of thing that permeates through culture anymore, in the way that before there was whatever the radio would push, whatever was popular on MTV dictates what was popular in music. Whereas I think what's going to happen is there's going to be all these little tiny factions that branch out, and everybody is unique and everybody likes something different. And I think what will happen because of things like YouTube and the availability of music through Spotify, whatever, all these little things will thrive, and maybe there won't be just one specific type of music that kind of becomes the main thing. That's my guess, but you know what? I have no idea. I'm just musing. E. Bollinger 72. Thank you so much, man. He says, or she says, here, Samurai, have a beer on me. I will definitely do that. Probably not tonight. No, not going out tonight. But in the near future, I will buy myself a beer, and I will say, thank you, E. Bollinger, for that. I am going to enjoy that sweet, tasty barley sandwich on you. Thank you, man. Someone says, Russfell says, any thoughts about Nick Johnston? Never heard of him, so I don't have any thoughts on him. Italy Dan Carmelli says, how old were you when you started playing guitar? I'm currently 14 and I started when I was 12. I started when I was 13, so you got a leg up on me. However, I don't think it really matters when you start. It's how much you put into it and how much you focus on it. And another great thing is having good guidance. I mean, I taught a lot of students who started when they were, I taught students who started when they were 9 or 10. They didn't do anything with it. I have friends who started when they were younger than me, 4 years younger than me, and I was better than them. I was probably better than them within 2 years because I practiced and I had a good teacher. Guys, how's the stream doing? On my end, it looks a little choppy. So, if there's an issue, let me know, and maybe I can try to fix it, but nobody seems to be complaining about it. Maybe it's just something that I'm seeing here. What was I even talking about? Starting guitar. Yeah, the best thing you can do, get a good teacher. I had an amazing teacher from an early age who I'm still close with, and I still talk to, and I still seek out musical advice from him. Someone is saying it's a little choppy. Okay, give me a second. Maybe I just need to switch over my internet. Okay, I'm going to switch over to my 5G network. Let's see if this works. It's going to cut out for a second. Okay, we'll see if that worked. It went green on mine, which means it's good. I don't know. We'll see. Let me know if there's always a lag, so that's just kind of the nature of the beast. But hopefully that makes it better. If not, well, we're kind of SOL because I don't know what else I could possibly do. I mean, I pay all this money for like the highest end internet, and like the fact that I have to deal with this nonsense kind of annoys me. And there's the thing that also really grinds my gears is I have one option. It's like it's a monopoly. What am I supposed to do if I don't like this one service? I have no other options. It's the nature of the beast. Okay, well, we're just gonna have to deal with this and power through. All right. Anyway, back to the comments. I think hopefully the video will clear up a little bit shortly. Alex Downey says, Paul Gilbert question. Okay, so remember maybe you missed it earlier, but one of the things that I want you guys to do, if you leave me a question, if you want my thoughts on a guitar player or a band, tell me what you think about them. Ask me something in particular, because that to me creates conversation. Whereas you just saying just like band name ? Little low effort. Let's what am I supposed to do with that? If you say, hey, I love this aspect of Paul Gilbert's playing. I love his speed, and I love his technical virtuosity. How do you think that impacts music? That's something we can talk about. To me, that's a little bit more fun to chat about. So that would be my request for you. How's the Cybeam contest? Emma Hearn says. So if you guys don't know, I'm giving away this guitar. This very, very guitar right here. And what I've asked people to do is play along and record themselves playing along with one of my songs called Cybeam. And I'm going to pick my favorite cover of that song, and I'm going to send them this very guitar. Contest is going pretty well so far. I think there's like 100 and some submissions at this point. So to be honest, like if you're interested, man, if you submit something, you got like 1 in 100 chance of winning, which is pretty good odds. I would do it if I was you. But for the most part, I'm pretty happy. Some of the entries have been really, really impressive. So I'm having fun with it. It's fun to hear you guys play. Soham Deb says, what do you think of John Mayer's new album? I really like it. It's probably my favorite one since Continuum, and I really love Continuum. Just scrolling up here, trying to catch up on some of the missed comments. Armando Ruiz says, how much for a Skype lesson? Send me an email. I don't want to give out that information here because in the future, if it changes, I don't want people to refer back to this and say, hey, you said it was only this much on this live stream. So send me an email, and I'll happily tell you about all the prices and whatnot. Samurai, do you know some of the better ways to get a very in-depth understanding of complex time signatures? Asks Patrick Harju. Man, that's something I really struggled with. I don't play much music in odd time signatures, and when we were studying that in school, that's something that I sucked at. Playing in 7/8 was really rough for me. And if you guys don't know, 7/8 is basically when there are 7 pulses within a bar. You'd count it 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 1 2 3. And whenever I played in a band once, and we had a couple songs that were in 7/8, and whenever we would play those songs, I'd get asked if I wanted to solo, and I would just be like, no, I don't want to solo in this one. I suck at this. So unfortunately, I don't have that would not be my expertise, unfortunately. I think the video's cleared up. Let me know if it's kind of fixed itself, you guys. Oh, Andrew Bellini says, can you play a country solo or some country licks? Certainly I can, and thank you again for the super chat. So here's one of my favorite country licks. That cool stuff, like those bends where you're trying to emulate the pedal steel, to me are very much in the world of country music. Another one like that would be, so if we're in D, as well as those sixth intervals. Anything with those open strings sounds kind of country to me. As well as like those double stops. Little slides. One of the things I think of when I'm playing country is very much you want to outline the chord. And there's not really complex chords. It's usually just like 1, 4, 5. So one of the things you want to do is really make sure you're outlining those individual chords and really making sure they each stand out. So here would be a D, A, then back to the D. So, I mean, there's lots of little nuances to country music, and I think country guitar is so great. There's a lot of aspects of country that I deeply, deeply hate. Some of the stuff I hear on the radio is just like I'd rather listen to silence. Not all the stuff. Like some mainstream country is really great, but there's a lot of it that I deeply, deeply hate. One of the things I deeply, deeply love is the guitar. And one of the things I like about mainstream country is I can put on the top 40 country radio and I can hear guitar solos. If I put on the top 40 in the pop world, I ain't hearing a guitar solo. That's one of the things I like. Those little, I don't even know how to explain them. They're just like little fills that you add into lines, like those little aspects of touch. I feel like I have a lot to do with country. So like instead of just like playing, I might play, and to me that sounds a little more country-ish. The whole chicken picking thing, playing with a pick as well as those fingers. It's all about kind of figuring out those little, those little licks and stuff. Anyway, that's a little bit of a rant on country music. It looks like the Big Lebowski said, "Hello from Russia, mate." And he super chatted RUB 400. I have no idea how much a ruble is worth. So that could be worth like $5 or 400. I have no idea. But either way, I'm super grateful that you decided to super chat there, Yamiyaha. And he said, "Hello from Russia, mate. What is the best clean amp by Fender? By the way, what do you think of the Doors and Robbie Krieger? Not the most technical guitarist, but his musicality is fantastic." Anyway, you're fantastic. Keep up the good work. Well, thank you so much, man. My favorite clean amp by Fender, and that's a huge, it's a tough question to ask. What's the best one? Probably like a 1969 like deluxe reverb or something is going to be outstanding, but that's going to cost you an arm and a leg. I use a twin reverb, the one with the 15-inch speaker in it. I believe it's the 65 reissue. The reason why I bought one with a 15-inch speaker in it is because I heard that's what Stevie Ray Vaughan used, and so I tried it out. I was like, hey, this sounds pretty cool. And so that's one. It's super clean. You're never going to get any distortion off that. I love it. The only downside with that is it's really heavy. What do I think about the Doors and Robbie Krieger? I really like the Doors. I wouldn't consider myself a Doors fan per se, in the sense that some people who like the Doors really like the Doors. I would consider myself someone who is, if I hear them on the radio, I'm going to listen to that song. But I couldn't list. I've never listened. I don't think I own any Doors albums. No, I definitely don't. But I've read one of Jim Morrison's books, the biography about him. I think it was called No One Gets Out of Here Alive, and I really enjoyed that. I like the Doors. I saw them live once, the recreation called Doors of the 21st Century, and who did they have singing for them? Oh, I can't remember who was the singer. Some grunge dude. I want to say Scott Weiland, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't. I don't remember exactly who it was. That was super cool. As far as Robbie Krieger stuff, I think it suits the song, and I think that's great. He was never a huge influence on me, but hey, I like him. From what I've heard, I like him. Okay, I'm going to read some of these more comments here. So, Gadi Abu Hadir says, "What do you think of Tool?" I'm going to ask you guys, if you want to know my opinion on a band, I want you to leave me a comment and tell me what you think about them. Say, hey, I like Tool because of this reason. What is your opinion on that? I like this guitarist because of this reason. What's your opinion on that? To me, that creates a little bit more of an interesting conversation than just saying, hey, what do you think of such and such? Captain Dickhead says, any advice for bass players? Serve the song. That's the biggest piece of advice I can ever have. Theory is great to learn. Practice your rhythm. one of the things I really like when I'm playing with a bass player is like if they're grooving and they're prepared. To me, that's the best. Hunu says, Samurai, do you ever busk? No, I do not. I did it once and I hated it. I busked once when I was traveling around Australia. I had like no money. I was super poor when I was doing that. I was just working odd jobs. I was there for 6 months. After I graduated high school, I went to university for a year. Didn't like it at all. Realized I didn't want to go back, but I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I went to Australia and just like traveled around for 6 months, just backpacked around. Did a number of odd jobs. The worst job I ever did in my life I did there, which was tomato picking. I would not recommend that. And one time when I was in Brisbane, I went to like a little, kind of the main area there. And I busked for a bit, just brought my acoustic guitar. Eventually, I was asked to leave because I didn't have a permit. I think I made like $15 over the course of an hour. I didn't enjoy it. I also wasn't prepared. Like, an acoustic guitar doesn't carry in a busy area. So I was like hitting the strings as hard as I could. No one could really hear me. Not something I plan on doing again, though I kind of feel like if I busked with my hockey stick guitar outside of a Winnipeg Jets hockey game, I can make a ton of money, but no, not my jam. I've been fortunate enough to find myself in a place in life where I'm not super hard up for cash, and the only reason I would ever busk would be for money, so no thanks. I know most people find the fast metal stuff very impressive, but I find some of the SRV licks near impossible. So in that vein, what's the fastest bluesy lick you can play, says Isaac Howell? I don't really know what the fastest bluesy lick. I've never really tried to play. To me, like speed is not my forte whatsoever. Basically, like every guitarist like every professional guitar player and like the guys on YouTube, like I'm probably the least technically proficient on guitar. Having said that, there's a couple ways that I cheat with speed. One of the ways is like hammer-ons and open strings, doing stuff like that kind of thing. You can kind of just like cheat a little bit and make it sound like you're playing faster than you really are. The other thing I do is I use these fingers as well to kind of pick some of the notes around a chord, or in a scale. So like, for example, this lick here is way easier to play when you're using the chicken picking style. So I'm not a technically overly proficient guitar player, so wouldn't be my specialty. M says, hey, what do you think of Rabea Massaud? I personally think he's an amazingly versatile guitarist with an incredible note choice when writing. Also, his tone is just incredible. See, that's the kind of comment that I like responding to. It's like, hey, here's what I think of someone. To me, there's more engagement there. It's more fun for me. So M, here's what I think of Rabea Massaud. I haven't listened to much of his stuff. I should listen to more. I would trust your opinion when you say that he's an amazingly versatile guitarist. I've seen his videos pop up now and then, and from what I have heard, he sounds pretty awesome. Am I going to watch the Emoji Movie? Definitely not. Faisal Ibrahim says, what do you think about John Petrucci? I have lots of his solos in Dream. I love a lot of his solos in Dream Theater. His solo is very technical and also very emotional. I know some guitarists really love him. He's another one I just don't know much about. Never that kind of music never drew me in. It was just never for me. I think I've listened to a couple Dream Theater songs in my life, but it's just never. It's never been that one of those things that's hooked me in. And there's a lot of music out there, and one of my opinions is if you don't, there's no point to try to force yourself to like something for the sake of liking it. If there's nothing that draws you into a style, don't feel the need to listen to that. And that was kind of how it was for metal for me. There's nothing that ever really drew me in with that. There was nothing in that style of music that was really, well, no, I shouldn't say that. There was nothing, there was other genres that I thought I could pick stuff from and learn stuff from that would more influence the way the sounds that I hear in my head. And so, for example, like jazz music, there's lots of jazz that I wasn't overly into, but I knew if I spent some time with it, I could acquire a taste for it. And there were things that I heard right away that interested me. So I was like, okay, I'm going to explore this a little bit more. It's worth my time to explore that. Whereas I never got that so much with like prog or metal. Hey Samurai, says Philip Zane, can I upload the Sidebeam cover if I don't compete? I don't have a credit card. Yeah, you don't need a membership or you don't need to have Musician for the contest. And if you want to know more about the contest, you can find a video on that. I released it, I think, last week. You do not need to have a Musician membership, though I would recommend it for the sake of learning it, but you can definitely upload if you don't have one. Hey Samurai, does knowing almost everything about music and theory in a way ruin the joy of music? So I wouldn't say that I know almost everything about music. There is a lot to know. When it comes to theory, I feel quite proficient. That's one of my strengths, I believe. But there are definitely things that I've never really explored. I've never explored like negative harmony, which is something I've been meaning to, and I'm meaning to make a video on it. Does it ruin the joy of music? It changes the joy of music. It's a different type of joy. The mystery is gone for me. I know that basically anything I hear, I can break down and figure out what's happening there. The wonder is gone. When I used to hear Jimi Hendrix, I'd be like, what is he doing? That blows my mind. That, for the most part, isn't there. But what it's evolved into is something that's still exciting. It's like, wow, this is such a cool thing. I'm so excited about this. I can't wait to break this down and incorporate it into my playing. And to me, that's much more valuable. But my relationship with music has really, really changed over the years. I used to always, whenever I had free time, I'd be listening to music. If I was doing a workout, put on an album. If I was driving in the car, listen to music. If I was taking the bus somewhere, listen to music. Now music is my profession. 8 hours a day, at least, I'm doing something music related. So when I'm not doing that, I need change. I can't, if I listen to music in those off times, I get burnt out. So for me, that has really changed a lot, that relationship. The excitement of music has definitely changed. I haven't been like super, super excited about like an album coming out or a band for years now. And to some that might be, I don't know, that might be like kind of depressing, but that's just, I don't know, that's the nature of it. And I'm okay with that. There's other things that excite me in my life just as much. And on the off chance that I do get super into something, that's always fun as well. But what does excite me is creating music. That's, to me, the most exciting thing in the world. Making my own music, sharing it with you guys. That the fulfillment that brings, and having worked up to that, to me is worth so much more, and is so much more, brings me so much more happiness than the excitement that I used to get when the new Red Hot Chili Peppers album would come out. So anyway, that's my thoughts. Kind of thoughts on that. I'm going to play something for you guys pretty soon because I've been chatting a fair bit. Who knew says, are there ever days when you don't play or listen to music? I think I kind of just answered that, but yeah, for sure. I definitely try to get away from it. Like Saturday, Sunday, if I can, I like to just like totally step aside and just do something non-music related. And I think that's important. That's important for mental sanity. I've seen so many people just get burnt out, and I've come close to getting burnt out on music. And so I need my escapes. One of the things I have been trying to do lately, though, is play a little bit more guitar. For a long time, for like the last couple of years, the only time I would play would be when I'm like working on something. But I've been trying to make an effort to like half an hour every day, just like put on a jam track or something and just like have some fun playing. Randy Becklin says, there's too many people on here and too many questions. I think you should make Q&A videos and pick out the best questions. I do, in fact, do some Q&A questions, or Q&A videos. I've done one so far. It didn't get a ton of views, so I wasn't super inclined to do another one, but I probably will eventually. But, I mean, that's the nature of this. I wish I could respond to every single one of you guys and give every single one of you guys all the time in the world, but fortunately, there are so many of you that I can't do that, I guess. Relaton says, thoughts on Randy Rhoads, killer riffs, melodic solos, classical elements, and was a true student of the instrument. Yeah, Randy Rhoads is amazing. Another one of those guitar players that I never really got too into. Besides like the stuff that I heard on the radio with Ozzy, but the stuff that I have heard, really like it. To me, like some of the guitar players from that era ish that I was more into would be like, I was like super into Slash, super into Jimmy Page, really like Joe Perry from Aerosmith. I don't know. That's kind of from in that era more of the stuff that I was into. I am going to play something because I've been chatting a lot. And one of the things I like to do is play guitar, even though as much as I enjoy chatting with all you guys. Okay, I'll do one more question, then I'll rock out a bit. Let's see, what's a good one? What's a good question? Well, they're all good questions. What's one that I want to that I want to answer? This may be a better question. Okay, so I'm just browsing through here. Oh, Jeff says, are you influenced by Danny Gadden at all when it comes to your country playing? I think everybody is in one way or another influenced by Danny Gadden if you play country music. I've listened to a couple of his albums. I don't know if I've transcribed any of his stuff. And what I mean by that is one of the things that I'll do when I'm trying to like learn a new genre is I will just like learn a bunch of solos note for note. The artists that I think I really was more inclined to work on were like one of the things that I would recommend, if you're learning country music, go to the 90s, listen to Alan Jackson songs, and learn guitar solos from Alan Jackson songs. They're like 10 seconds long. It's manageable. There's some great riffs in there. And so that's, to me, like, that's where I learned a ton of stuff. Song Chattahoochee, I believe it has that lick in there. It's like, how's it go? I can't even remember it. I can't remember them. They kind of come out a little bit more naturally. One of the things I do when I'm learning solos is I learn it note for note, and then I basically forget the whole thing. But if I've learned it well enough, I kind of trust that it sinks down to the musical subconscious and elements of it come out. So having said that, I'm going to play something for you. I've been chatting way too much. Okay, I'm going to record something. I'm going to make a little loop. We're going to make it, say, maybe like a B Dorian type thing. So one of the things that's really annoying about this loop station, well, just using a loop station, is you got to hit that, you got to start the loop at the exact right time, or else the timing gets all funky, and it can be a little tough. Okay, let's see if this one got it. Okay, so that one's pretty good. Kind of sounds like Sissy Strut. Do you guys know that song? It's a funk, one of those funk standards. I'm going to jam on this for a little bit. Let's see how it goes. It's always fun. Always fun to jam out in that kind of style. So I hope you guys enjoyed that little funky rendition of whatever. It's nice to jam like that. I don't do that as much as I would like to. I like jamming like that because it's like one of those things where I'm just going in there and I'm just winging it the whole time. And because of that, you hit some weird notes and you go in some directions that maybe aren't the best place to go into, but it's fun to explore that kind of stuff. And it's a nice setting to do it here because I'm like, if I make a mistake, it's all good, baby. Jonathan Zilk says, you remind me of John Scofield. That means a lot because John Scofield's one of my favorite guitar players, and there's certain elements that I tried to incorporate from his playing. And if you guys don't know John Scofield, check him out. And what, to me, makes John Scofield so great is that he has such an instantly identifiable voice. And I get the fact that, one of the things that draws me to him is that, man, the guy is not overly technically proficient. His what makes him so great is that his phrasing is so great, his sound is so great, his harmonic knowledge is so great. He doesn't rely on technique, and that's to me where that's what I really enjoy. I like guys who make you feel something, who can tell a story with their guitar. And John Scofield, I think, is one of the best examples of that. He also has a way of creating like great tension, and it's rough, and it's just so good. Like a lick like. To me, that's total Scofield. Love it. All right. Anyway, let's see what you guys are saying. I feel like I've seen the name Incubus pop up a bunch here, so I'm going to respond to Blaise Rantanen. Incubus is one of my favorite bands because they're extremely diverse. Extremely diverse. They have really mellow songs, but then get heavier on the earlier albums. Not too technical, but very musical. Yeah, what I've heard of Incubus, I quite enjoy. I hate to cop out again, but it's another one of those ones that I don't really, really know a ton about the band. I just know their hits from the radio, and whenever I hear it, it's like, oh yeah, it's a good song. But I've never actually really tried to find any of their songs. Aram Kefayati says, let's make some music together and sell it on Audio Jungle, Music Bed, and any other free royalty websites. Once I want to hire you at Fiverr for some guitar parts of tracks that I sell there. Yeah, so I used to do a fair bit of stuff, like session work on Fiverr. I've totally shut that down because I've gotten to the point, I never really enjoyed it, to be quite honest. But if you don't know, Fiverr is a website where you can basically hire anybody to do a digital service, and the service that I offered, I was like, yeah, I'll play guitar for your album. And I did that for quite a while. As I was trying to focus my time on being a full-time musician, make real money, I needed things like that to have a side hustle to bring in some money. And so I did a lot of session work through Fiverr. Probably hundreds of recordings through there. But it kind of eats your soul a little bit. And a lot of the people who hire you, it's tough working and communicating things over the internet, especially with musical concepts. Especially, it's very tough, I find, to communicate musical concepts if you don't have a musical background. So if I were to say to someone, if I were talking to another musician, and I could say, all right, I want you to play something, I want you to make sure with your mandolin part that you highlight the melody, and when it comes to here, I want you to create some friction in the song by playing something that are not chord tones. Like, you know what, that kind of thing I can communicate with a musician. But if somebody comes to me and they're like, I want it to sound more watery, I'm like, Jesus, what on earth do you mean by that? And I literally had this conversation with a guy. He's like, you got to make it seem, I want the song to sound watery. I'm like, what the fuck is watery? Don't go up to a lawyer and say, listen, man, I need to hire you for my services. I like you because I think your arguments are very very cloud-like. What in God's name are you talking about? And so that was one of the frustrating things I dealt with Fiverr, and I'm very happy that I've kind of gotten myself to a point, and I consider myself very fortunate, and it's because of you guys, but I've gotten to a point where I don't need to do that anymore, and hopefully never have to again, but we'll see. If water gets tight, or if money gets tight, back to the side hustle on Fiverr. But as of right now, I have my account shut down, or at least nobody can contact me through there. Lucy Edwards says, why I can't afford a Fender Stratocaster or Telecaster? Because you ain't saved up enough, and they also cost a lot of money. Aiden Devlin says, watery equals put more chorus pedals on maybe. Hey, maybe. you might be a great guy for Fiverr. I think, I don't know. I think he meant like, oh man, I had to do so many revisions for that guy. I had to like send him the song like 3 different times. Oh, I got a couple nightmares. I had a couple nightmares from that experience. There's also some really great experiences from doing stuff on Fiverr, and I also like made a decent chunk of change, which is probably the best of all the experiences. But there's one girl that I did something for, and she contacted me, and she was like, I want you to produce and record a song for me. I want it to be in this style. So I was like, okay, yeah, I can do that. And so I sent her something, and I would consider like very, very much fulfilled her requirements, and she was like, no, that's not good. I want a refund. I'm like, listen, first of all, do you know how much time I spent on making this stupid thing for you, and you want a refund? That's not how this works. I'm willing to work with you and to get to a solution, but come on. You don't just like say, no, that's bad. I want a refund, especially if you haven't given me a whole lot of advice. So you know what? I'm glad I'm not doing the Fiverr thing anymore. Hey man, watch your stuff a lot as a pianist, says Rotom223. What are your thoughts about switching from music minor to a major? My music profs have been suggesting it to me, and I'm very unhappy with my major. So I should make a video on music education and on getting a degree. I got a degree in music. Got it up on my wall over there. I don't know if you guys can see it. Yeah, there it is. Right beside my YouTube plaque. But I got a degree in music, and to me it was extremely, extremely helpful. Having said that, I don't think I would recommend it to most people. And the reason why I say that is because getting a degree in music does not get you a job. For the most part. Maybe it'll help you get like a better teaching job or whatever, but for the most part, a degree in music does not lead to a job. A degree in engineering, well, you'll walk out of there, you'll get a job. If you get a doctorate, or if you get an MD, you're going to get a job. If you get a law degree, you're going to get a job. If you get a music degree, you're not going to get it. Doesn't help. It doesn't get you a job. It gives you the tools that can prepare yourself better for a career in music. And I think it's very important to think about that. And a career in music, for most people, it doesn't happen. The majority of people I went to school with are not making a full-time income through music. I would say there's 5 to 10 of us who are doing it, and I think that would be generous. What a music degree does is it gives you the tools. What I'm able to do through YouTube, I think I can do that because of all the information and all the knowledge I got from my degree. The other great thing was the networking. There's the 5 to 10 musicians who are making it full-time. They're really quite successful in music, and that network is really valuable. I have one guy that I went to school with, and he plays in Shawn Mendes's band. He played Wembley Stadium the other day. Another one of my good friends from school, he plays in the band Walk Off the Earth. I know a guy who I went to school with who produced Not Afraid for Eminem. The list goes on. but it's also a very small list considering that I probably started with like 200 people. And within 200 people, there's like 10 of us who are making a full-time income doing music. So for most people, I don't think it's worthwhile doing that. I would say you're probably better off keeping music as a hobby. However, there are some people who are going to say, you know what, forget you. I'm going to do this no matter what. And I was one of those people. There's been a lot of people along the way who said, nah, maybe you want to consider doing this music thing. But I was always like, no matter what, I'm going to find a way to do it. And if you have that attitude, that's the kind of person who music school is valuable for. You're going to find a way no matter what. And if I could discourage you all day long, but you're still going to do it, those are the kind of people who succeed. So that's my opinions on that matter. I hope that's valuable and not too discouraging. Myron SM says, "Hi Samurai, greetings from Costa Rica, and greetings right back to you from Winnipeg." Evie Robbins says, "Where did you go to school?" I went to Humber College in Toronto. Arnold Alana says, "Definitely not true about a law degree equals a job." Okay, yeah, good point. In Winnipeg, where I live in Canada, you are basically guaranteed to get a job. I understand that in the States and in other areas that's not the same. It was just an example. I use that because that was a serious consideration of mine. I really considered going to law school because every single person I know who went to law school has gone on to get a job within Winnipeg. So it could be totally different depending on where you are. Xander McLeod says, "I noticed the other day you commented on one of Pamela Horton's videos. Is there a possible collab in the future?" We did a collab before. It's on my channel. You can find it if you go to my playlist and go through the gaming. It's the one where it was the 90s infomercial for a video game soundtrack. You can find that there. I got to know Pam, and Pam, if you don't know Pam, she is a gaming persona. She's done a bunch of stuff with Playboy. I believe she was a Playmate at one point. And I would go check out her stuff. I believe her channel, I can't remember it off the top of my head. Just search up on YouTube Pamela Horton, and she's awesome. And that was one of those chance encounters that really has blossomed into a cool friendship. And I've known Pam for 2-3 years, and maybe 2 years. But I was in LA for the first time. Well, I guess that was 2 years ago, and so it's kind of a cool story. But my MCN at the time, that's my multi-channel network, the people who run, they kind of do management type stuff for YouTube, and my opinions on those are that's a whole different can of worms to crack into. But anyway, they had a dinner get together at Disneyland, and so I was like, okay, well, I'll go to this. And the guy I was sitting beside had known some of the people who worked at the MCN, and he went on to work at Playboy. And so I got to chatting with him, and he checked out some of my videos, and he's like, man, this is super cool. You should come swing by Playboy headquarters on Thursday. We have a little get-together. Everybody comes down. We have some pizza. We have a couple beers, and the employees and the Playmates all hang out. I was like, okay, well, yeah, I definitely will come to that. Thank you for the invitation. I will 100% be there. And just to make sure that he wasn't kind of bullshitting, I got his email and sent him an email the next day and asked him if that was still on. He's like, yeah, swing by on Thursday. So I was like, oh, hell yeah, I'm going to come by, hang out at the Playboy headquarters. And so on Thursday, I'm about to head over there, and then I get an email from him, and he's like, hey, man, 2 of the Playmates, they're streaming here. If you want to be on their show, come by a little bit early. So I was like, oh, yeah, I definitely will come by a little bit early. And so I went there, and I streamed with one of the Playmates or former Playmate, Amelia Talon and Pamela Horton, and I got to know them there. And then we just kept in touch, and Pam's a music fan, and I'm a fan of video games, and there's been talks about working together in the future. And last time I was in LA, we had coffee, and later on, at one point, we also did a video through Playboy at their headquarters, which was super cool because that was the first time I've ever done a big high production in my world video with catering and lists of what you're supposed to do and actual cameramen. So that was really cool. The moral of that story is when you have a little bit of an opportunity, it's worthwhile pursuing a lot of them. Little chance encounters, if you got a gut feeling about them, pursue them. Anyway. Okay, scrolling down to the bottom here. I feel like a lot of people are arguing about who's the better guitar player, so I'm just not even going to get involved in that one. The Real Duck Likes Rain. Hey, you went to Humber College. Do you know Bad, Bad, Not Good? Yeah, I started with, I think it's Alex, and Leland, the sax player. Him and I went to a couple classes together. I didn't know any of them especially well. Leland, I probably knew the best, but I didn't even really know him that well. Really, all those guys are like cool guys from my experience. But I think Alex, I believe he's the drummer, and in the first like year or two that you're at Humber, you're kind of very segregated into your instruments. So he was a drummer, I was a guitar player. There's not the most interaction between the two groups. But I mean, Bad Bad Not Good is doing super well, and it's awesome to hear. Like, it's awesome to see successes like that. Yeah, there's a couple who I can think of who I went to school with, and that's one of the cool things about music school. Oh, I think my computer's freezing up. Oh, no, it pulled through. Way to go. That's one of the cool things about music school is you get exposed to that kind of thing. And one of the reasons why I made a YouTube channel was because my friend Joel, one of my best friends from school, him and I were roommates. We played in bands together. He's one of the few guys who I ended up like staying close with after school. But we played, like, he was one of my closest musical friends. We played in so many bands together, did so much stuff together. If I needed a drummer, he'd be the guy that I would go with. And I've told this story before on this channel, but I'll tell it again. He decided to take a year off, and he joined this band called Walk Off the Earth. And this is a band, they were kind of an underground ska band, and I played in a different band, and we crossed paths with them all the time, just playing like shitty little no-name empty bars and stuff like that. And so he joined this band, and they were kind of doing this YouTube thing a little bit, and then they made a video where 5 people played one guitar, and it blew up. It was massive. They were on Ellen, and they've gone on to become an arena band. Like, they play arenas. And so for me, seeing the power of YouTube firsthand was super inspiring for me. I was like, you know what? I know these guys. I know that they are not these superhuman musicians who are out of this world. I was like, I could do that. In some way or another. I could find my own spin on this YouTube thing. And seeing that happen was one of the reasons why I was inspired to do it on my own. Miguel Sherpa says, you never answer to my questions. Why do I not? Because I didn't see them. So I did answer one of them. Dave says, thoughts on Django Reinhardt. What are your thoughts on Django Reinhardt? All right, I'm going to play something more for you. Jonathan Meta says, will you ever consider training seriously also your singing voice? No. I have no inclination to try to become a great singer. It's not something that comes natural to me. I've spent some time working on it. I don't like the way my voice sounds when I sing. I would just rather spend that time playing guitar or making videos. I'll just hire a singer if I need it. I know that no matter what I do, I will never be able to recreate the sounds that I would want to hear in my head through vocals. So I don't know. It's a bit of a defeatist attitude, but I would just rather spend that time. I would just rather spend that time on other things that bring me more joy. All right. David Brennan says, what's your day job? Don't have one, man. I make music full time through YouTube, and basically, YouTube is my full-time job in one way or another. It's not directly like YouTube AdSense, but if you're smart, not to pump my own tires, but I believe if you are smart with it, you can turn a fan base, you can monetize a fan base. You can find ways to make money if you have a group of people who like what you do. And I by no means say that as like trying to like diminish my fans or say anything negative about them. I mean, I consider myself very fortunate. I consider myself very, very, very grateful that I have people who help me make this career. But if you do have outreach to people, you can find ways to turn that into to income. And so for me, a big thing that I do is I do like the stuff through YouTube, the AdSense, the Patreon. I do lessons that I offer through this. I'll eventually start selling merch, things like that. At this point, like, I'm by no means rich, but I'm also not dying for money. So, yeah, full-time jobs, YouTube, best job in the entire world. I wake up every single day excited to make stuff. Oh my, David Brennan says, oh my, sound lad, lucky. I don't consider it luck. And maybe I think there have been elements of luck, but I don't consider I don't consider myself someone who like won the lottery and just like got discovered or something like that. To me, it's been a lot of long, hard, arduous work, and I've been involved in music making money playing music since I was 16. So I've been involved in this industry for 13 years. When I started making YouTube, I was like, I have a goal and a plan with what I want to accomplish with this. I have an idea of how I'm going to turn this into a full-time business. And I've never had a viral video. I've never had a video that totally blew up. My biggest video is 500,000 views, which is great for, I mean, I'm super happy about having a video that's that successful, but at the same time, think of how many views a video like, I don't know, like what was that Psy song? Gangnam Style has. It's got like 2 billion views. I've never had a video that's had 1 million views. It's been very planned and very organized, and I don't consider it a lot of luck. It's just been having a goal and having a business sense. And I think that's lacking in a lot of musicians, this idea of how am I going to turn this? How am I going to make music a career? People just think that they're just going to play guitar and someone's going to say, oh, here's money. It doesn't work like that. And I think I've had that attitude since I started school. First day, and this is one of the reasons me and my friend Joel got along so well, is we were talking about this. It's like, you know what? We're starting our degrees, but why? Why are we doing this? How are we going to turn this into income? And once you start asking yourself that and you start planning for that and you start shaping everything you do around that idea, you're going to find a way. Not luck, in my opinion. Although there have been some elements of luck along the way. If those didn't happen, I think I'd still be where I am in one way or another. Alex Downey says, when you are doing what you consider work in your job, do you spend more or less than 40 hours a week on it? It's really hard to say. And here's the weird thing about what I do. I kind of consistently live in this gray area of always working but never working. When I worked at a music store, that was one of my only real jobs that I had that had like a distinct 9 to 5 layout, and I would work it 5 days a week. When I did that, when I was done working in the music store, I was not working anymore. Now I'm kind of always working. When I wake up, I'll go and respond to some emails. I'll have lunch, and then maybe I'll maybe jot down some ideas, do some more emails, maybe putter around on a video. I'm often working all day in one way or another, but I also love it so much that it doesn't really feel like work. I don't know if that makes sense, but I live in this consistent gray area where it's like when I'm not doing something, I always kind of feel like I should be doing something. Even though I do try to take 1 or 2 days off and just like fully detach myself from music. But even when I do that, like I'm still responding to comments on YouTube. I'm still every now and then just like doing a little something after my girlfriend goes to sleep, for example. If she falls asleep early on Saturday, I got my computer out and I'm working on something. Do I consider it work? I mean, yeah, it is work and it is my job, but I deeply love it. And I think it's that cliched thing where if I wasn't getting paid to do it, I'd still be doing this in one way or another. I wake up every morning excited to do what I do, and I consider myself, I'm very, very grateful to people like all of you who have made this a reality for me. And I wouldn't be able to do that if people didn't watch my videos. If you people did not come and watch these live streams, if all the people who have subscribed to my YouTube channel didn't subscribe and didn't watch my videos, I wouldn't be able to do it. So anyway, my biggest thank yous to you guys. John Fisher says, is time management difficult doing music full time as your own boss? It can be when I have a deadline, but I don't really have a ton of deadlines. Whenever I do sponsored content, like the Sidebeam contest, for example, that was brought on by Musician, and it had a strict, on Monday, the 1st of June or whenever it was, we are releasing this. And that's when it gets a little bit tough because, for the most part, I don't have deadlines besides the ones where I'm like, I am on Monday and Friday, I'm putting out a video, which means I have to find a way to make a video in that time, but I know that I can do that. I've never really struggled a ton with time management, but I've never really had to think about it a ton. I mean, I decided I was doing 2 videos a week sometime in January. I think like my goal was this year, 2 videos every week for the entire year. And I don't know, I found a way to do it. And I think I have enough options for videos so that if I'm getting bogged down on one idea, I can quickly make this other one and still get it out and still believe in the content. Okay, I'm scrolling down. Nico Bandages says, how long did it take you to get as good as you are at guitar? I've been playing since I was 13, so I guess 16 years would be the answer to that. Finn Duffy says, does the government register you as unemployed or not? Why so? I'm sure it doesn't. I don't receive any of the benefits for unemployment. Like I pay taxes and stuff, so I don't think they do. I don't know. I have an accountant who deals with a lot of this stuff. I hope she's not listing me as unemployed, because I definitely am not. Though it would be kind of nice to get some of those unemployment checks. Nicholas Ramos says, what is your email for Skype lessons? I'm interested in one. info@samuraiguitarist.com, and you can find all my contact information. There's a bunch of places in every single video. You can open up the description and you can find that information as well. Luigi C says, any tips for networking? Just get out there and do it. That's one of the biggest things I can recommend. But you also have to be respectful of people. Be very, very respectful of people's time. And how you want to network with people who are kind of in your realm. And what I mean by that is, say you are just starting to enter the singer-songwriter circle, for example. It makes no sense to be trying to go and work with the best producer in your area, to try to work with the top guys, because you have to always try to think from their perspective. Why would I work with this guy who can't really bring anything to me? It's not a great attitude, but that's the reality of it. If somebody messages me and says, hey, I want to do collaboration, well, the first thing I ask is, why would I do this? What's in it for me? It's selfish, but man, you got to have that attitude or you're not going to get very far. So try to find mutually beneficial relationships are going to be the ones that take you the furthest. That would be one of my biggest tips for networking. And just like be a good person. Just be a good person to hang out with. If somebody is overly obnoxious or something, I don't want to work with them. If they're overly cocky, I don't want to work with them. I want to work with people who I like, but also who are great musicians. Nick Powell says, how often do you sit down and dedicate time to practice? At this point in my life, I don't. I have before. I used to spend probably 5 to 8 hours, if I had to guess. I'd say average 5 hours for like 5 days a week when I was in music school practicing. And that's because I said, like, at this time in my life, I don't really need to worry too much about money. This is the time that I am going to spend honing my craft. And I just tried to spend as much time as I possibly could on that. So in that era, 4 to 5 years, I was spending like 5 hours a day-ish for 5 days a week. But now I would say none. I would rather spend that time making videos. Slay All Heartless says, hey, did you get my Sidebeam submission? I haven't started going through the list of them. I've seen a couple pop up recommended to me. If you submitted it, I'm sure it's there. I'm going to be going through every single one of them. I'm going to listen to every single submission. So if you submitted it, I'm sure it's there. And I'm looking forward to hearing from you. Okay, where was that? Miguel Serpa says, do you have any tips on how to get your band recognition? I certainly do. You have 2 ways of getting recognized in the music industry. Number 1, you do something that other people have done and you do it better. Number 2, you do something that's totally unique and different and people enjoy. That is your focus, to create things that are great. And very, very, very few people have the ability to create things that are great. If you can't make something that's great, you have to be okay with the fact that, you know what? Your outreach is going to be your friends and your family. And that's okay. But if you want to expand beyond that, you have to create something great. And that has to be your goal, is to strive for greatness. Because keep in mind, when you're creating music, you're not competing with your local band. You're not competing with your friend's band. When you're sharing something online or trying to get recognition, you are competing. And I say competing, it's not really competition, but this is the business, kind of some business ideas. When you're competing with the Rolling Stones, you are competing with the Red Hot Chili Peppers. You're competing with Meshuggah. You're competing with somebody like me for the attention of your potential viewers. In order to do that, you have to make something that stands up. You can't create something that's not great, because if somebody shares a link on Facebook, why would I listen? Why would I watch that versus going and watching a Rob Scallon video, which I know is going to be amazing? So you need to strive for that. That needs to be your goal, is to create something great. There are two ways of making something great, in my opinion. Number one, create something that other people have done and do it better than them. Number two, create something totally unique that is true to you and still stands up and is super cool. So that would be my opinion. It's tough, but that's my opinion. Dave says in all caps, when do you know you made it in the music industry? When you can stop, when you know that you can pay your next couple months of bills and you're not going to break the bank doing it. That was to me. Okay, here's how I decided that I had made it. For me, my goal was to get to a point in my career that it made more financial sense to be a musician than to quit and go and do something else. Right now, if I quit music and went and got a job with my skill set, I would make less money. And to me, that was making it. Any thoughts on Tommy Emmanuel, says Lorenzo. What are your thoughts on Tommy Emmanuel? Is what I would ask you. There's some questions about the competition. I think someone was saying, do we have to learn the whole song? No, but having said that, if at the end of the day I think here are two great solos and one person learned the full song, I'm going to probably go with that person. You don't need to learn the whole song, but it's recommended. If we learn the song through Musician, but we don't include the Musician app in the submitted video, that removes chances to win. No, it's not necessary to have that in there at all. Axel says, hey dude, thank you for inspiring me and others to play the guitar. People like you make the world a better place, and I wanted you to know that. What a nice comment, man. That I'll never get tired of hearing those things. Those things mean a lot to me. And I would say my response would be thank you for watching what I do. I am very much in debt to people like you who tune into my channel and share it with their friends and all that kind of thing. That makes it possible for me to do what I do. Vernet1066 George says, hi, do you think that players like Joanne Shaw Taylor and Samantha Fish can help break down the barrier of good female guitarists so it becomes just good guitarists? Or will gender always be an issue? So I think you're probably asking that because I just made a video on the idea of like gender in music and female guitar players and whatnot. I think one day, my goal, or not my goal, the ideal world would be that one day people don't even see, they just see a musician and a guitar player and they say, he's great, she's great, doesn't matter if they're female or male. I don't think we're there yet. I think that it does help that you have great female guitar players that can kind of bring down that barrier. But I think that barrier exists because when we're young, we do look for things that we can relate to get inspired by. People who look similar to us, people who have similar interests, things like that that we see similarities of ourselves in them, because then we can say, okay, this person who's in a way similar to me can do this, I can do this too. So I think it is I don't know, I think it's great to see guitarists like that. I'm going to play something again for you soon. I'm getting tired of hearing my own voice. NeoKio says, what would you do if all 126,000 of your subs sent in a submission for my contest? I would be in absolute shock and awe, as the most of those people, like I got 126,000 subscribers. There's nowhere even close to that many people who watch my videos. So if all of them just somehow sent in a video, sent in a submission to the contest, I'd be overwhelmed and would probably have to reach out to Musician and say, hey, I got too many submissions here. Can you guys help me go through some of them? That's what I would do. How do you handle soloing over weird chord progressions with no directly applicable scales, time, and the accidentals? Because you think in chord tones. I don't play most of the music I naturally do. Is very scale oriented. I like pop music. I like things that come from that era. But if you threw a bunch of disjointed chords at me and said solo over these, what I would look for is first of all, I would try to look for notes that are related in both chords and try to tie that together with lines, but I would also just think in chord tones. Dave says, what do you prefer? Be a master YouTube tutor but never make it live, or make it live but never come back to YouTube again? Man, I think for me it would be live. But maybe it's just the grass is greener on the other side. That's an aspect of music that I really miss. I used to play a ton of live music, and there's nothing like that thrill of playing in front of a large audience. I would prefer, I think, maybe to do that, but at the same time, there are downsides of that. A life on the road is not really a life that I would want. I don't want to tour for 8 months of the year. I want to be able to play on my hockey team. I want to be able to hang out with my family and do stuff like that. And when you are on the road all the time, you can't do that. So, I don't know. It's a tough question. I'm pretty happy with where I'm at right now. I think I would like to try to incorporate elements of the live show into the Samurai Guitarist thing. One of the things I'd like to do is eventually do clinics on the road where I 50% I'd be playing music, and then I'd do 25% chatting, 25% Q&A, that kind of thing. I'd like to do this kind of thing live. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what the future holds. Just browsing through these comments right now. I've seen somebody asking about Eurovision. I have no idea what Eurovision is. I have no idea who won it. I have no thoughts on the matter. If I do, I'll let you know. Okay, Marcos Pastorini says, what do you do when you are overwhelmed with information regarding music? Like when you know you have so many things you need to study in order to get better. Focus on one of them. Simplify. There's no way you can conquer everything in the music world. Try to figure out what matters to you, what your goals are, what is holding you back, and focus on those things, because there's no way you can work on everything. Satan JS says, what do you think about odd groupings of notes? 5, 7, 11, 13, which are often used by Eric Johnson Friedman. Do you use such groupings in your playing? I probably do. I don't really think of it like that, though. 5, 7, 11, and a 13. So that would be like a 5, 7, 11. I mean, I don't really think of it like that. I just think of, hey, you're adding some extensions on there, and it sounds kind of cool. If it sounds good, then that's great. My brain doesn't so much work in that way. I just think, okay, I got this chord. I'm going to throw in these extensions. Do I like Tom DeLonge? I'm going to ask you, do you like Tom DeLonge? What would you... if you want to leave a comment and you want to hear my opinion on a guitar player, I would say the best thing you could do is say, hey, this is what I like about Tom DeLonge. This is what I like about his playing. What do you think about that? To me, that's more of an interesting conversation than just saying, hey, Tom DeLonge, what do you think about him? You know what I mean? Let's see what's going on here. Mexican versus American Fender. I've only owned American Fenders. I like them, but there's great Mexican ones as well. Someone says he believes in UFOs and aliens. Well, I mean, UFOs are 100% a real thing. It's just an unidentified flying object. If I chuck something through the air and somebody didn't know what it was, it's a UFO. I think the weird thing is when you start saying UFOs are aliens, and that's a whole other topic for another thing, and maybe not what I want to get into here. I don't know, maybe it is. Somebody was curious as to my thoughts on that. Ask me about it. I'd probably respond. I don't mind talking about other non-guitar player things. One of the fun things about these types of streams is the fact that I don't necessarily always need to talk about guitar stuff. And that's one of the things with my channel is everything is somehow tied into guitar. So I like the idea that in this setting, we can talk about other things. Stay Less Heartless says, I love Tom DeLonge. I believe his music is very creative, and I think that the path he's chosen to blaze is something very different, and I can really appreciate his stylistic choices as of late. Cool. I like that comment. That's an awesome comment. Leave me comments like that. You guys, see, that's great, because I can say, yeah, I think it's really cool that he's obviously passionate about something. Maybe other people have, I'm sure a lot of people have discouraged the whole UFO alien thing, but he believes in that, and you know what? Power to you. I mean, Blink-182 was one of the reasons I picked up guitar, so there's always going to be a soft spot in my heart for the album Enema of the State. Have I ever gone through a punk or emo or metal phase when you were a teenager? Says Ilya Lykovsky. Yeah, one of the things that got me into guitar was pop punk. So like The Offspring, NoFX, Blink-182, love that stuff. I eventually kind of branched out, but definitely have a soft spot for that stuff. Metal, not really. Emo, definitely not. That wasn't my jam. When emo was a popular thing, I was just like full on into classic rock. Long hair, wearing Rolling Stone t-shirts, Slash, Guns N' Roses, Tom Petty, Led Zeppelin. That's what I was crazy about. And so I thought emo kids were kind of lame at the time, but I got no issue. If you want to do you, I'll do me. That's how I feel now. Vernette George says, hi, I did not know you had a video on gender in music. Yeah, check it out. I just released it. I've been making an effort to avoid the comment section because those type of videos can inspire some ugly conversations that just get me frustrated. So I've been trying to make an effort to avoid that comment section a little bit. Carlos Johnson says, where do you live? I'm not going to tell you guys my exact address, but I live in Winnipeg, Manitoba, in Canada. Jonathan Metis says, please elaborate on aliens. Okay, so here's my opinion on a lot of things. And I think my nature is to come from very analytical, and I try to be as I'm the eternal skeptic with a lot of these things. My opinion on aliens is, do they exist? Or have they ever existed? Chances are, I would say probably. I mean, I think just like the fact that the universe is massive, probably they have existed. Oh yeah, we're getting deep. We're getting off topic on this one. That's fun. I like that kind of thing. But I think the bigger question is, have they ever visited Earth? And have they ever done it in like recorded history? I would say chances are probably no. I would guess, like you think of the infinitely small probability that life exists, that life comes to exist. And then the even infinitely smaller probability that life becomes intelligent. And then the even more infinitely small possibility that this intelligent gains access to space travel. And then the even more infinitely small possibility that they happen to have traveled to where we live in this small, tiny little area in space. And then the even more infinitely small possibility that it happened in this very tiny time frame that we have recorded history of. To me, all those things add up to being just like, it's just such, in my opinion, such a small, tiny chance that it's happened that it's, to me, almost negligible. Not impossible, but it just seems to me like, it seems to me so infinitely small that I wouldn't spend any of my time really thinking more about it than that. The one time I did read a really cool article called about the Fermi paradox, and it talks about if aliens or why haven't aliens existed or visited us, or if they haven't, why haven't they? And it was a very interesting idea. Anyway, I can't remember it. It's very it's complex for my small little mind, but I'd read up on that. It was interesting. So I feel like I opened a can of worms. So I'm gonna read the comments now. Cue the X-Files theme song. Yeah, I wish. Anyway, that's just my thoughts on that kind of stuff. So just browsing through these comments here. Dion D says, how old are you? Favorite songwriter? Greetings from South Africa. I'm 29 years old. Favorite songwriter? There's so many. One of the ones that comes to my mind is John Mayer. Love his stuff. Regina is Little Winnipeg. Yeah, I'm not to brag on people from Regina, but I've been to Regina. Didn't do much for me. Kind of just seems like a smaller version of Winnipeg with less trees. Plus, I root for the football team that is my team's arch nemesis. So, got to throw a little shade over at the Reginans. Booty says, would you be willing to review and grade my pop punk band? I certainly would be. You can send me a email to info@Samurai Guitarist, and I can tell you my rates and how much I would charge for doing such a thing. Okay, here's a cool question. Neo Kio says, why do you think that once a musician makes it big, they grow some sort of affinity for drugs? I've always wondered why. What's your opinion? I think there's a lot of elements to that question. I think one of the reasons why once a musician makes it big, they grow an affinity for drugs is part of it is the fact that if you're young and you have a ton of money, it's just like it's one of those things that just like starts coming up. I've been in situations where drugs have popped up a bunch of times. I can only imagine if I were quite wealthy, people would trying to sell it to me. And if I had a ton of money, that would not be something that would limit me as much, you know? I mean, there's a ton of reasons not to do drugs, get me wrong. But if I was extremely wealthy, a ton of money, one of the less things that would stop me from doing it is the fact that I can't afford it. So I think just having tons of money, that affects as well. Being young, you see it in with sports as well. There's lots of drug use in sports because these young kids, you give them millions of bucks, they're going to make some bad decisions with it. I think another part of it is the fact that when you're playing live, you get such a rush, a natural high for playing all these people. As soon as you step off stage, it's hard just to go from that huge rush to nothing. And I think some musicians will use drugs and alcohol to cope with that lull, that sudden drop off the cliff when you step off stage, because you can kind of keep the party going when you're drinking or doing drugs. I think part of people who end up becoming rock stars is the people who desire to have that attention, have this little thing inside them that isn't fulfilled by other things. I know it's like there for some reason, and I haven't figured out exactly what that reason is. I have a desire to have people who I've never met watch my music and to leave me nice comments on YouTube. It's wonderful. It's something I've desired. I've desired that attention, and that's just being completely honest. And I think most people who become rock stars and successful musicians, in one way or another, they desire that thing. And because of that, there's that emptiness inside. If you are fully satisfied in all aspects of your life, you don't need that. Again, this is just my opinion on this. You don't need anything else to fulfill that little hole that, for whatever reason, it's there, and you seek that attention of strangers, and you want the admiration of strangers. The people who seek that are also the people who fill that little hole with drugs and alcohol, would be my opinion. Again, it's a very complex issue, and I don't want to trivialize addiction and all that. That's just kind of because I've thought about this stuff, and that would be my thoughts on that matter. I'm going to wrap this up in 10 minutes, guys. The reason why is because I need to... someone was talking about soccer, and yes, I do need to go play my soccer. Every Wednesday, I basically have a soccer game. Chris says, do you fancy drugs? I do not. They're not for me. I've gotten into a place in my life where... I mean, there's different drugs that are less harmful. You know, if you're shooting up fentanyl, that's way worse than smoking some pot. And so I think you can't just say, do you fancy drugs, or what do you think about drugs, and have an overarching thing for all of them, because there's a big spectrum of them. But for me, every now and then I'll drink a couple beers. That would be my vice as far as that goes, but it's become increasingly rare as I've gotten older. The one thing, I don't know, to me, I find a lot of happiness in other aspects, and I don't feel the need to supplement that with anything else. Though, then again, after hockey, nothing better than crushing a couple beers with the boys. Nothing better. So every now and then I've been known to let loose, but it becomes increasingly more rare. Though I think there are certain drugs you can use for the right reasons. Though I haven't never spent much time with it, I feel like there are good reasons to take LSD. That's just my opinion. There's good reasons to smoke pot. There's not a lot of good reasons to do coke or heroin, so this Samurai Guitarist PSA, don't do the hard stuff. Don't do meth, kids. I think you guys are giving me a hard time about saying cracking a cold one with the boys. It's one of the favorite things to do. Right after a game, had a tough hard game, grinding it out in the corners. Nothing better than cracking a cold one with the boys. What are you guys saying here? Yeah, I think you guys are making fun of my Canadianisms. Hey, you know what? There's certain aspects of Canadian culture that are mocked and stereotyped, and they are totally true. People do say a ton here. I've made an effort not to say it because, well, at least on my videos, I've made an effort not to say it because people just call me out right away. I've also made an effort to say about differently. People around here, their natural way of saying about is about. If you're talking to someone in Winnipeg, you're gonna hear them say about. And it was weird because the first time I drove down to LA, I spent a bunch of time there. I listened to the radio, and as I drove back here, I started listening to the radio more, and I could hear the accent change as I got back to Canada. And as soon as I got to Winnipeg, I put the radio back on, and I was like, "Whoa, are these people making fun of the Canadian accent?" But that's just how we talk. And once you get used to not hearing it, then you can hear it more. And I've always thought that one of the things I want to do is I want to try to have a neutral type of speech on my YouTube videos, because I don't want that somebody being obsessed with the way I say a word to distract them from the content. Anyway, just my thoughts on that. But when we do the live stream, I don't really mind as much. Letting the true Canadianisms fly. Hey there, bud. Jax Hakeem says, do you smoke? I do not. I definitely do not. Big fan of being in shape and big fan of being able to run fast and long distances, so not really into smoking. Will I play music in my wedding, says Pippis. Probably not. It's one of those things where if I do decide to ever get married, I think I'll just want to enjoy the day and not have to think about it as work. Can I dance, says Jax Hakeem. Everybody can dance. Bizgard says, Trailer Park Boys. Love the boys. Just finished the recent season not so long ago. Oh, love that Leahy and Randy. They're my favorite characters. All right. I should play something. I've been chatting so long. I said I'm going to play something. Yeah, I'm just going to make something up. I don't know. We'll see what happens. My guitar's out of tune. That cut that song a little bit short. There we go. Oh, I know what I'm going to play. It's one of my favorite things to jam. One of my favorite songs of all time. See, that's what I'm talking about. That's just like a little bit, yeah, that's a little bit out of time there. Let's try that again. Okay, that one's pretty good. That's kind of a cool note right there to bend that one. I don't normally use that one, but I like it. Anyway, I was just kind of jamming out on all along the Watchtower. One of my favorite songs to jam out on, just simple and easy, always fun to play. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. I'm going to wrap this up within the next 5-10 minutes. I need to eat, and then I need to go and play my soccer. I see people are commenting on my guitar face. That is totally involuntary. I think if I tried to, I don't think I could. I don't think I could not do that if I tried. Let's see what happens. I'm going to try to play some guitar with a dead, perfectly straight face. It's going to be weird. Let's find out. honestly, like, it's really, really hard. I feel like kind of like twitches start happening. I don't think I can not do it. Anyway, maybe try it yourself. It's weird. It would be like, I don't know. That was a fun experiment. Anyway, let's see what you guys are saying. I am Rubik's Cube says, Dear Samurai Guitarist, I would appreciate it if you speak some Canadian for me. I would absolutely love to hear you soothing Canadian accents. Okay, so the Canadian accent, for me, it only comes out very, very rarely. That would be the one time it comes out is in the most natural of Canadian environments, which would be the hockey arena. When I'm sitting on the bench with the boys, oh, yeah, bud. Excuse my swearing, it's going to happen. Oh, you just fucking that guy over there, just giving her in the corners. Gotta love that. Oh, yeah, bud. Oh, tough game out there, but, at least we got some cold ones back in the dressing room. Oh, fuck yeah. Oh, yeah. All right. Yeah, bud. Anyway, there you go. I was just imagining myself sitting on the bench. Chatting about hockey. Oh, yeah, bud. Out for a rip, are ya, bud? Out for a rip. Aardvark Central says, YouTube won't let me spam. Oh. Tough break for you, man. What beer do you drink, says Pippus? I drink, well, my preferable beer of choice, like, I think my favorite beer is an American beer called Sierra Nevada Pale Ale, and I can only get it in the States, but man, is it tasty. That's one of my favorites. I like trying new things. I don't like super dark stuff. Oh, actually, I do like it in certain situations. I like it if I'm drinking it with a meal. Different situations call for different beers. Like in the dressing room, I don't want to be drinking a Guinness. I want to be sipping on like a Bud Light or something. But if I'm out for a fancy dinner, I wouldn't mind like a super dark thing or other. So that would be what I would say. Have you ever slapped and plucked a loop, like a layer that sounds like drums? I think I must have at some point. I don't do much of the slap guitar thing. That's not really stylistically my thing. Labatt 50. Yeah, that's not necessarily what I would go towards. But in certain situations call for Labatt 50. Certain situations call for Miller High Life. Let me tell you about Miller High Life. Whenever I'm in the States, I buy a 30-pack of Miller High Life because you know how much those are? Well, most of you are probably American, so you're very well aware. Miller High Life costs $15 for 30 of them. That's 50 cents a beer. That's cheaper than water. So whenever I go down, make sure I buy myself a 30-pack. I buy it at usually Sioux Falls, I think is... Where do I go? No, Grand Forks is where I buy my beer. Last stop before I drive up to Winnipeg. Stick it in the trunk, and then I just mix them with Clamato juice, or what you guys know is, I guess, tomato juice. Make red eyes. Amazing. It's a perfect beer for that. But if you just drink it straight up, it kind of is pretty rough. And if you drink too many, you get a serious headache. I'm gonna wrap this up. Okay. Oh my God, it's already 7 o'clock. I gotta get going here. I'm gonna respond to 5 more questions, play something, and then I'm gonna call it a day. Dilly Dub says, how long did it take you to grow out your hair? I started growing my hair for a video I did, which would have been April, like almost 2 years ago. Yeah, that was the last time I cut my hair, 2 years ago. Was that 2 years? Yeah. I made a video where I shaved, cut my hair short, and every week for a year I would film one part of a song, like one bar of a song in the same place in my parents' backyard. And I would film there, and then the next week I would go out and do it. Then the next week I'd go out and do it. And over the course of a year, I was able to accumulate the full song. And so what happens is in the video, you see my facial hair grow, you see my hair grow, but you also see the seasons change in the background, which I thought would be a super cool idea. I thought this was like the best idea I ever came up with. Unfortunately for me, the internet, the people who watched it enjoyed it, but it didn't get a ton of views. I think it has like 12,000 views. You can find it on my channel. It's called Buri in E minor. I think it's probably one of the best videos I ever came up with, but unfortunately, it didn't take off. That's the nature of the beast. Sometimes you just gotta pour your heart into something and it doesn't go anywhere. The name of the video is Bourrée in E minor. You can find it. Scroll down in my YouTube, in my list of YouTube videos, and you'll find it eventually. It was released like about a year ago, maybe a little bit more than a year ago, but you'll be able to find it there. Yeah, I think it's best video, one of the better ones I've ever made. But it's funny, the ones I've put the most time into have often been the ones that haven't really taken off. Whereas some videos that I like put very minimal effort in have got a ton of views. Somebody said something about, am I going to release any more original songs? I definitely would like to. If I could do like one original song a month, I'd be super happy. It's one that I really enjoy releasing those things. And it's just like, it's a great creative outlet, and it's cool to create something that is a totally original song and just release it into the world. Yeah, it's called a year-long musical time-lapse. That's what it is. Go check it out. Share it with the world. Post it to Reddit. Share it with your friends. Put it on Facebook. I feel like that video, of all the ones I've ever done, that one deserved a better fate. But such is life. What can you do? All right. Let's do a couple more questions. Play something. Call it a day. Someone says, Marco Pinueas, what's your opinion on the historical aspect of music? Just how the Beatles came into the scene and changed it completely. If one would like to learn more about that, where it could look. I love the history of music, and that's one of the things I've recently tried to bring to my channel, and it's also been something that has been received quite well. Whatever reason, the YouTube algorithm likes it and shares it with a ton of people. But those videos where I talk about like lists about I had one that was the history of genre names, fun facts about or facts you didn't know about guitar, stuff like that. I tried to bring in some of that musical history stuff that I really love, and it's something I'd like to kind of keep doing with the channel. I think as far as like learning about history, it's just looking for whenever you have a chance, just try to find something. Like there's so many books that have been written on musical history, on bands. You can find a ton. I used to only read band biographies. You can't see it, but I have a bookcase outside that door, and it's just full of all these rock and roll biographies that I've read. Because when I was reading them, I was like, at some point in my life, this information is going to be useful. And sure enough, it's all paid off because I really reference a lot of that stuff in those videos. Besides that, I don't know, there's cool YouTube videos on a lot of this stuff. What's your favorite recording software? Asked Dominic Nabotza. I use Pro Tools. It's just the one that I learned first, and I think the one that you learn first is the one that you get drawn towards. Did you remake the video about picking one of your musical influences and looking at all their influences? Well, I've done that topic on 2 different videos. So yes, I think I did that one. I did that one on how to sound like your favorite guitar player, and I think I mentioned that topic in another video along the way as well. But, that's the nature of it. Sometimes I'm going to make a video and I'm going to repeat some of the stuff, either because it just applies to these 2 different things or just the fact that I forgot that I did it before. All right, guys, I want to remind you a couple little PSAs before I wrap this up. First of all, make sure you get your submissions in for the guitar giveaway. You can find all the details on that. I released a video like a week ago called I Want to Give You This Guitar. And I'm running a competition where you can win this guitar. It's open to everyone in the world. Skill levels don't matter. At the end of the day, I want to give this guitar to somebody that I'm super excited about, and I think they'd be excited about it too. All the details about that, you can find that in another video. Besides that, make sure you guys check out my Instagram. Follow me on Instagram because I do release like information that's not available here on that as well. Instagram @Samurai Guitarist. Add me up. You can find me on Snapchat @SamuraiGit. Twitter @SamuraiGit. What am I on Twitter? Yeah, @SamuraiGit. You can find all this information in the description of every single one of my YouTube videos. But it's good. It's worthwhile following me there because I try to release different stuff on different places. And if you like what I do, check out those places as well. One of the things I try to do with my social media is not just like share the same things. I think it's worthwhile trying to bring something new to each different platform. On top of that, big thank you to everybody who supports me through Patreon. I don't know if I have any of my patrons watching right now, but if you are, man, thank you guys so much for supporting what I do. You guys make it possible. Without the support of people on Patreon as well as other places, I couldn't do this, and so I am deeply and always in debt to people like you. If you're interested in more info about the Patreon stuff, www.patreon.com/samuraiguitarist. I also release like tabs and a bunch of other cool things through that. Anything else I need to say? New video on Friday. I think that's it. I'm going to rock out, play it out. What am I going to make? I don't even know what I'm going to play. I'm just going to create some sort of vamp. We'll see what happens. Kind of cool. Guys, thank you so much for watching. I'm Samurai Guitarist, and I will see you again next time.